A while ago, I talked about Jetpack Cat when they released in that big Season 1 at the start of the year, and I was not the biggest fan, and I continued to say that I was not the biggest fan. But watching the OWCS recently, and watching Violet play the cat, has inspired me and probably a ton of other players to give the cat another go. So, this last week, I've been playing quite a lot of Jetpack Cat, and so I have formed quite a few new opinions, and I think I was wrong. I think my initial impressions of Jetpack Cat were very, very wrong. As always, these discussions are streamed live, so come say hi for those. And without further ado, let's get right into the main topic. So after playing quite a few Jetpack Cat games, I think I was overly harsh on the lifeline being very one-dimensional in terms of lifeline creates a one-dimensional kit. I very much said that all the eggs were kind of in the lifeline basket, and so that meant the character actually is quite boring and not that interesting, but they just have this gimmicky lifeline that makes them interesting. But I am kind of happy to say that I don't actually think that is the case. After playing some games, I actually think the character is fun without lifeline. There are some games you will play Jetpack Cat and you will use lifeline only to really taxi people a couple times. It definitely benefits floor tanks and immobile characters and like hit scans and stuff far more than any other character. Which means that some games it's just not going to happen. So I might have a game where I'm playing with like a Winston, Tracer, Sombra, and even like an Akiri. And then the lifeline just not really going to be that useful in that situation. And so I thought initially that that would mean the character would be useless in those situations. But I actually think there is still a lot that you can do on the character. And there is still a lot of fun to be had, even without lifelining people all the time. And when you do get the gimmicky lifeline bastion game, you know, Jetpack Cat bastion game, it is quite fun to do that, even if I think it is really cringe. And so what do you then do when you're not doing all the lifeline stuff? Well, this is what I was like. I kind of felt really inspired by watching Violet, and I think so many other people probably were. I think we are going to genuinely see a generation of Jetpack Cat players after the OWCS final. But I found that playing that stupid ratty style, where you're kind of playing like a Tracer, was actually incredibly fun. Violet made it look fun, and I kind of tried out some of those type of things. And you know what? It was fun. I have to admit, I genuinely do enjoy just flying around and hiding, go behind backline, you know, peeking around corners, and you can actually do pretty good damage. It's not that broken. I think you're quite easy to hit. You're not like when you're mobile, you're quick, but you don't move unpredictably. And so you are fairly easy to punish if you are bad at the thing you're trying to do. But it is very fun to do that. I quite liked picking off someone, you know, who's just behind of the team with the melee perk, or even the flight perk, like the one where you fly past, it does damage, and then him with an E, and it's really great. You can do some really, really ratty things, and that is actually something that you'll get value on. And I'm personally someone that enjoys that. And Jetpack Cat is probably objectively the most fun character to duo with, or to be in a duo with, or, you know, even more in the entire game. The most of the enjoyment I got out of the cat before these couple games last week was the time that I played with someone and was able to taxi them around, or I got taxied around. That stuff is actually super fun. And then one of the characters is another point that genuinely seems to reward kind of gimmicky stuff. And that's from my design brain, my hero design. Everything needs to be, you know, honest Overwatch. Great design brain doesn't love that. But from a player perspective and what's fun, I am all on board. Like, I am all here for it. Being rewarded for gimmicky stuff is so, so cool. I mean, genuinely, there is a reward for the dumbest thing. The dumbest idea was to just fly me as an Ana into the backline and throw a nade. And now that's not that crazy. We actually saw that happen a couple times in the WCS games. But that is not something that you should, in theory, be able to do or do in a Overwatch game. Throw Ana into the back of a team. But you can do it. And when the nade hits and you hit 4 people with it, you get huge value out of kind of what you'd consider a gimmick. And I think that is what makes Jetpack Cat quite unique in that regard. And back to my first initial point of the lifeline, I think the character is still useful without the lifeline. Like, even though a lot of those gimmicks come with the lifeline, that ratty style actually is rewarding, and you also do enough healing and damage. And like, yeah, you don't have the strongest util without lifeline, but you don't need to. And you do have a boop in your kit, which is pretty good. So, you know what, the character actually kind of does function without lifeline. The ultimate I would also put up there on my list of some of my favorite ultimates to use. I actually think this ult is such a blast. Genuinely one of the most fun ults in the game. I've had so much fun just throwing myself into a team, it's not even just the grabbing someone. You actually stun in a huge AoE. That stun can be insane at flipping fights and dragging enemies off maps, dragging them into the backline. It's obviously so fun and just such a funny thing that's going on. I will say though, if I have to push aside all the like fun I've had as a player on the character in the last week, from a design perspective, I am still not like the biggest fan. I think Lifeline still needs some sort of cooldown. I think Infinite Flight doesn't really belong in the game, but to be honest, it's been implemented well enough that I don't think it's that bad. Your mobility is quite limited without fuel. Like I can kind of show this off. Like when you move left to right, okay, I'm doing this. You strafe very not much. You don't really change that much. Like, if you like, straight back and forth, you kind of just stay in place. You're quite easy to hit, and you know, it's like you fly up and down as well. So, I'd say it's been implemented in a fine way, But largely, I would like to see some work done to this character. But as a player, I am a big fan of the character, and that's all I had to say.